What is up, guys? We are back with some more shaman content. Woohoo! So I outstretched myself a little bit today. It's supposed to be 15 to 20, and I actually went 15 to 21 because I forgot to stop. So we're going to 21 today. So don't ask any questions. But so this is actually another strange thing. I decided to deviate a little bit as well, and instead of continuing down the classic kind of leveling system I'm going down right now, I've decided to show you guys Chromie time. So Chromie time is a way that you can actually level through any expansion as if it was current content. I actually love it. It's one of my favorite things they've added for alts because it does get old leveling through the same thing. So being able to go back to other expansions and level as if it was the first time again, it's really fun for people like me. So I'm going to take us to Stormwind. From Ironforge to Stormwind is a bit of a hike. That's why we have the train. The train is very, very useful. Gets you there very fast. When you're sped up 7 times like this, it's even faster. Also got off on the wrong side of the train like an idiot. But voila, we're in Stormwind. So first thing I'm doing here is only necessary because I'm a shaman. I've had a shaman quest for a little while. And so I'm just turning it in. I did end up reading it and realized that I'm not going to do it. It's way too far away to justify it because there's like no reward for it. So I'm just skipping it. But what I'm doing now is I'm going to Chromie, and I'll be able to show you the Chromie UI, what it looks like when you get there. It's pretty cool. It shows you every expansion that you can choose from. I ended up going with Cataclysm because it's my least favorite expansion. So I said, screw it. We'll do something that I don't usually do. I usually skip Cataclysm and do all the other expansions on my ults. So just doing something new here with you guys. But from this point, I'm just following the quest and going where it's telling me to go. Quick word of advice, you do not have to rush through all this stuff and almost die like I did. You can stop and kill things solo, and you get the experience for everything. I was just rushing, but definitely don't have to do all that. So at this point, when we're leveling, pretty much the only thing we're going to be unlocking for the most part is talent points. So I'm not going to continue to stop and go over every one of them. We already discussed in the previous video the kind of path I'll be taking over the next 6 levels. So that's exactly the path I follow in this video. Sorry, over the next 12 levels. So we'll keep going with that. And then once things start getting interesting with the talent tree, we'll start diving back into it. But at this point, just read every tooltip, learn what they do, and make sure that you build a tree that works for you while you're leveling. You can always use stuff like Icy Veins and Wowhead once you're max and you want to maybe learn your class a little better. But I think it's easier when you're leveling to actually learn your class by reading what you're doing, why your moves are there and what they're supposed to be used for. Part of the reason I really didn't like leveling this expansion is there were so many cinematics, like just back to back, and it was one of those where there's a lot of things rolled into one quest. where nowadays you'll see that you'll have about 4 quests every time you pick some up, so that you have multiple things to do, multiple sources of experience. It feels a lot more fun now. This expansion just felt so sluggish compared to other ones. It was probably the worst time in WoW for me. And I think a lot of people would agree. Everybody's least favorite expansion varies. I don't think this is my least favorite. I think that goes to Battle for Azeroth, but it's still up in the air. Every time I play through a new character, I change my mind on that. And there were parts of this expansion I liked. I almost liked the garrisons, which we will talk about a little later. But it just got too convoluted for me. But ultimately, this whole beginning section just felt like it took ages and didn't, I mean, you know, got a few levels out of it, great, but it just felt a little slow. This expansion also had a lot of this stuff where it was like the, you know, controlling, you know, either animals or machines and firing on large groups of people. And it's cool. I mean, like, it's definitely at the time I was like, oh, this is fun. Like, it's kind of different. And then they overdid the crap out of it. And at some point it was just like, all right, I don't want to do this anymore. And they kept doing it, I think, for quite a few expansions after this. It's still in the game, but it's much more like few and far between than it was. We're finally finishing that beginning part, heading into the beginnings of the Garrison. And I do kind of speed through it here, so I'll go ahead and start explaining it. Garrisons were their version of like the closest thing that WoW has gotten so far to having houses. I think that in the beginning it was very cool. It was something brand new to the WoW like player base, and it was always cool getting new stuff at this point because we'd had Burning Crusade and Lich King and they were just so good. It was like, how do you top them? The Garrisons were close to being like what it took, but the expansion was so dull otherwise that it kind of became the one thing that this expansion had to hold on to until I can't remember, it was Highland or whatever it was, until the first like big raid dropped and everything. But even then, those still weren't that great to me. A little more fun than the original content, but I don't know, wasn't enough. But the Garrisons, essentially, you, as you'll see here, you build this big encampment, and it's up to you to supply the resources to build certain buildings on here. You can have things like stables, a lumber mill. It's really, really good for people who like professions, because you could build something where you could essentially constantly have like profession materials working. There at this time there were certain materials you could only get from Garrison that you needed for big profession items, and so you were always working on those. And there were other like little fun things you could do. The stables were cool because you got a lot of mounts out of it. I know for me and my mom that was like one of our favorite things to do, was get all the different mounts you could out of that. But at some point it kind of lost its shine, and I grew tired of it to the point that I stopped caring. I stopped working on my Garrison, not early, but like, I mean, probably halfway through the expansion I was over it. And I'm sure again other people felt the same way. This is also where they introduced like the follower thing, where you have like followers that you recruit to just send on missions while you're doing other things. It's like very RTS-y. But I don't like that. I just think it's a boring mechanic because it doesn't even really give me anything good, and it was like more or less just getting more resources. It was okay. I don't mean to sound like I'm hating. It's just that this expansion brings back a lot of bad memories. I was really on and off with WoW at this point, and I do blame this expansion. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually just flying back to learn fast mounts because I want to. I don't want to ride around slow anymore, but I once again forgot to make Stormwind my hearth. So I'm going back to Stormwind to learn fast mounts and make it my hearth so that we can keep coming back there. I will, and one thing I forgot to mention, the Garrison gives you its own Hearthstone. It's called a Garrison Hearthstone, so I can get back to that anytime I want to. So keeping my hearth over at Stormwind makes sense, because then it can either be at my Garrison or come right back here where it's kind of the hub for everything. So I got my fast riding, and now we go wee. But I'm gonna go ahead and set my hearth here, and that's it. That's 6 levels like that, done. Obviously this was a lot shorter than my other shaman leveling videos, but at this point it's more or less just the grind of leveling. I'm not going to make you guys sit there for an hour listening to me talk about nothing, when really it's just follow the quests, put your talent points in, and get your riding skills leveled up when you get them. I think in the next video we're gonna have flying, so that'll be fun to kind of show you and talk to you about what that's like. But until then, that's it for this week on the Shaman. I am going on vacation next week, so we will return in 2 weeks for 21 to 30. See ya.